Check out this Singer sewing machine. Isn't it grand? The lady that sold it to me practically begged me to take it for $25. Today's challenge, the Blue Challenge, is hosted by Andy over at Flip Pop. Be sure to check out the entire playlist that I'll have on my end screen for you to click on. Look how sweet. All the accessories are included with this. Now, I'm probably going to get a little hate for this, but I'm thinking of separating the machine and the base. The reason being is I'm going to check it out, and I promise I will. There's the key, so if you wanted to keep all the drawers locked, safe from your kids. But yeah, check out the way this opens. But I'm going to check out the price and see, what it's worth. And, I have a feeling that it's not going to be worth as much that I could sell it for if I switched it over and made it a vanity, because vanities always sell. So, but look how beautiful this machine is. And I still think I can sell the machine head as well. But I do totally appreciate it because I've been a seamstress my entire life and the daughter of a quilter, so I certainly appreciate it. And I have my mom's sewing machine. It isn't quite as old as this one, but I still have the machine and the cabinet that it came in, and I won't touch that one. So the serial number matched up with the photo. There was a piece of paper inside. So this one says it's model number 31 and it was manufactured in 1910. But the book inside says it's model number 66 and the book was copyrighted in 1915. So I'm a little confused. But I did some research and they're going all over the place. So you see some for $1,500. Here's a reproduction for $1,200. Then you see one for $400. It's just kind of all over the place. There's just a lithograph. So I kept scrolling through. The machine heads themselves go anywhere from $100 to $400. And interestingly enough, there was also just the manual, which is the same one as the one that was in my drawer, for $60. So regardless of what it's worth, it all comes down to this. It is my decision, and it's my sewing machine. It was my $25, and it's my loss if I choose not to sell it, or my gain because I enjoy painting it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. inside the machine, it was pretty dirty, so I was able to get that cleaned up. And I also looked at this piece and thought, do I need this? So I really struggled a while to get this one removed. I used my phone to take a picture so I could see what was going on inside there. We have this giant screwdriver that I borrowed from home in order to get to that screw. I finally got them all but one and then was able to wiggle out the rest. That's what it looked like when it came out. I took the circular hinges off of the machine itself and put it back into the table. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to be able to use this, but I'm determined that this is going to be my hinge for a lift-up section that would possibly contain a mirror. I take this little wedge piece out from the bottom, and I sort of replace it upside down to support these two pieces. I used an insert from an old buffet and also a different kind of sewing machine drawer from a different sewing machine. I took a piece of cardboard and covered up that hole that was in the bottom because I'm just going to use some scrapbook paper to line this. So I glue that down, and then I add the scrapbook paper and a whole bunch of clamps just to make sure that it's really secure, so that when my drawer goes in and out, it won't affect it. I use silk in Harbor to line the inside of that buffet drawer once I get it all that yucky felt out of there. I paint the inside of all the drawers in this Harbor color. Next, I'm thinking about my design, and I'm using this paint inlay. It's the Trompe l'oeil blue. What more perfect thing to choose than the blue? So I want to give the sides of these drawers, since the front of them has such good detail, I want to give the sides of them an extra little pop. So I'm applying these paint inlays to the sides of the drawers. First, you're supposed to use 2 coats of chalk paint. I am a rebel and I'm using 1. Since this is such a dark color, I think that I can easily get away with it as long as I catch this paint while it's wet, and I use the mister bottle to spritz a little bit on the paint side of the inlay and lay that down in the wet paint. I smooth out all the wrinkles and repeat the process with the rest of the drawers on both sides. While that's drying, I revisit the body of the machine. I turn it on its side and then upside down so that I can remove the base. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm never going to be able to reach inside on the inside to paint that area unless I remove it. So once again, that big screwdriver comes in handy. The base comes off, and I simply use some Windex to clean that. I return to the sides of the drawers, and they're dry, so they're ready to be able to pull that paint inlay off. So I remist it to wet the paper so it doesn't tear, and then I simply try to find a corner and peel it up and check out how nicely that image transferred. I just love paint inlays. Sometimes they can be a bit of a challenge, but honestly, when they work, there's nothing better. And really, once you learn to use them, you'll understand what things work and what things don't. So most of the time, I have pretty good success with them. So I'm just using a flat brush to get in that area, and I've poured some paint out on a paper plate so that, because my brush wasn't going to fit inside the jar. I just do one heavy coat on these insides, or 1.5 coat as they say, because this paint is so dark and that wheel is going to cover most of that area anyway. It's not an area where I need complete coverage. I return the base so that I can turn it back upside down, or right side up rather, so that I can work some more on the painting. So I begin to start painting the details, and I'm still using this same Bunker Hill blue color. My original plan was to do a blend of blues, but I'm just loving this color so much. It's so vibrant. It's a bright color. So I am excited to see the details come out. I love this raised detail on here and on the sides, and I'm planning on using some white wax to further enhance all of these beautiful details along with the rest of the paint inlays. I use the large image from the inlay set to put on that curved section on the back of the machine. Again, the application is pretty simple. Just make sure your paint is wet, and this is my second coat on this. And then I simply mist the paint side of the inlay and lay it down. Now, you'll notice that I repositioned it. That's a tricky move. Sometimes it starts to transfer off into the paint, so I was luckily able to move it. So obviously I kind of placed this too far down and also a little crooked, and I was able to peel it back up and reposition it even after doing this. See, normally you press that into the paint and it really just starts to come off. So fortunately, I'm just able to reposition it. I'm cutting some more pieces for the sides of the back. And these are gonna get a little bit of a trim because they don't exactly fit in that area. So I'll just trim a little bit off to make it work. Paint inlays can be used more than once, so I'm using some of the spent inlays from the sides of the drawers because this design fits just perfectly on the front of the drawer. So I'm gonna give it a whirl and see what we come up with. Each time you use it, it's going to get a little bit more faded, so the image won't be quite as bright. But I think we'll be okay. I think it's just going to be really pretty anyway. I'm super excited, and I'm going to let them dry overnight. I continue the next day, and my inlays are all dry, so I'm going to mist them to re-wet them and then peel them up. Now remember, this one is a second use, so it's going to be a little lighter than my previous one. It is lighter, but I think that's really going to lend itself to the rest of my design. I'm pretty happy with it. Beautiful, it's looking really good. And now I'm going to use the veranda stamp from the brand new spring release from IOD. I love it. It's got all this beautiful lattice and all these beautiful bunches of roses and some frames. I think it's going to be the perfect addition to this piece. These also come with masks, which are going to be really important in our design. But because they're brand new, we want to condition them first. So just take some 220 sandpaper and just lightly go across one way and then the other, and this just roughs up the surface and gives it a little tooth so that your ink and your paint is going to adhere. So I'm re-inking my stamp pad because I haven't used the white for a while. You want to make sure that you always shake it first, and then I just generously pour it on the stamp pad. And then I also go over it with a paper towel. This is just what I do. Maybe others might have the patience to wait, but I just kind of blot it a little bit. I first use the paper towel to distribute the ink the whole way around to the edges, and then just blot it off just a tad so that I don't have things too inky. First, I'm going to ink up one of the bunches of roses and figure out my design. I decide which mask is which so that I'm ready with the mask. I lay the piece down and ink it up, put it where I want to. I'm just using it without a backing. You can cut around these and have just a little sort of a handle with that sheet of mylar that's on it, but I'm just choosing to use it this way. Here's where the masks come into play. So I match up the mask for the stamp that I've used, and I lay it on top of my stamping. I do this for both ends. Then I ink my lattice stamp, and I stamp right over those masks. What this does is it gives me some dimension, and it looks like the roses are actually in front of the lattice, not underneath them. Pretty cool, right? come back in with my paintbrush and I go around my inlay. You can see kind of the rectangle where the paper was, and I like to disguise that. I also cover up any areas where I got some ink where I didn't want it, such as when I stamped, I went a little over the design and got some on the actual backing of the stamp and didn't catch that before I made the impression, so I just got rid of any of those marks. I think it's looking so pretty. I open up the machine to work on the inside now that the outside is all dry. I do a first coat and then a second coat and apply the same inlay that I did on the top of the machine, or on the back of the machine as well, on the inside lid. So again, this will be a second use for this inlay. Once again, making sure that the paint is good and wet, and I position the inlay after spritzing it, reposition it a little bit and smooth it out, re-wet it, and then let everything dry. I also play around with some additional pieces to see what I want to do on the inside, but I end up deciding that I'm just going to do stamps with that. But I still needed to give it a second coat. So I'm going to let this dry and search for a mirror option. I'm using some gilding wax and bronze to dress up all of the hinges and metal parts on it, and it really does a great job. I originally wanted to put an inlay on the inside of this lid. As you know, while it was drying, I went to search for a mirror and it didn't come off right. So at this stage of the game, I just decided that I'm going to use some more of the lovely stamps from the new IOD spring release. I use my brush and do a little touch-up. Do you remember how this machine cabinet looked before? We'll take a look at it now. Thank you, Andy, for hosting this challenge, and for everyone that participated, and of course, my audience for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Find Statement Designs on the web at statementdesigns.org and as Statement Designs on social media. Stay well.